In this episode of the Bayta podcast, I sit down with Lotanna, the founder of XPO, which is a secure way to pay for influencer marketing, and also the founder of Altar, a new app that allows users to donate to their local church. In this episode, we talk about Lotanna's early roots in entrepreneurship in his teenage years, and some of the mental struggles and barriers that he's had along his way in his journey. And most importantly, there's so many learnings that you can take away whether you're building a tech company, an app, or just any kind of startup and business that you're involved with, so that you don't make the same mistakes for your company. Without further ado, let's jump straight into it, and I hope you enjoy. All right, welcome back to the Bayta podcast. Today, I've got a very special guest. Lotanna is joining us. Am I pronouncing that right? Make sure that I...
Perfectly,
okay,
actually, surprisingly.
Awesome. do you have any nicknames that you go by?
Yeah, people just call me Lots.
Lots. All right, I'll stick to Lots for the interview. So
That's
Lots
cool.
and I messaged you around about a year ago, I think.
Probably,
I don't know how I got in touch. I was doing the podcast and then I saw that you were starting stuff with XPO.
I remember that.
And wanted to do a podcast, but we didn't get round to it. But I thought, lockdown's a perfect time for me to catch up on the backlog. So why don't you give us a quick 30-second intro, just who you are, kind of a bit about you and what you're working on right now.
Alright, cool. Hey guys, my name's Lotanna. Often go by Lots. I have lots of businesses. But yeah, anyways, I'm just a normal guy from Southeast London. Currently working on an app called Altar, where you can donate to your church remotely. Essentially, it's perfect for the climate that we're in at the moment. And I have another business called XPO, which is essentially the PayPal for influencers, so you can securely pay them so they don't scam you. But
Nice.
Yeah, that's what I'm working on.
Awesome. And look, we'll go into each of those businesses afterwards. I think there's some really interesting points, and I've had a little play around today on both. But I suppose before that, let's kind of take it back a bit to before you started your businesses, because I know I've seen some of your stuff on LinkedIn around some of the businesses you started at uni. What kind of got you into starting your own business, and maybe talk about kind of your path so far into where you're at?
Yeah, so it's weird, but I just like earning money. that was the very key thing to me, and I feel like a lot of people think it's a taboo to say that. But that was my key motivation, first of all. I think because when I was younger, I wasn't privy to like a lot of money, a lot of income at all. So I remember like when I was 13 years old, I used to type into Google like how to make money as a 13-year-old, and like it would be like go and mow the lawn. I'm like, there's no lawns in Southeast London to mow. So just like from a very young age, I even remember when I was in primary school when I started I didn't think of it as a business back then, but there were these sweets called jawbreakers. Yeah. And people used to love them. And then there were 50p for the big ones, essentially. Mm-hmm. And there was a off-license shop like 200 meters away from my school. But then back in the day, there wasn't any apps for bus times to see when the bus was coming. Yeah. So people would then give me the money. They'll give me £1. I'll keep the 50p change. And then I'll run over, because I was quite quick, run over to the store and then buy it and then bring it back before the bus came. Then after a while, like 15, 20 students start giving me £1 each. And then like every week I'll be making like £9 basically from just doing that. So it got to a point where I'll tell the guy at the off-license shop, I'll be like, yo, I'm going to come here every day, so just pre-pack it for me instead. And then from there. But yeah, I've just loved businesses and just like kind of like knowing how a business works, essentially. So
what kind of brought the kind of motivation and like interest in this area? Because for me, I think similar to you, I went down that whole route of like selling sweets at school, and it was very much my parents and my teachers in my business class that kind of enforced that in me. Is there anything in your like family or background that kind of has driven you with it this way?
I think my mum just always supported me in whatever I wanted to do, and I feel because I'm a very numbers guy. So when it comes to numbers, I'm just like, if the numbers make sense, I'll do it no matter what it is. Even if I don't have any experience in that industry at all, I'm still going to do it. So I think, numbers are my mum.
Nice. So let's go back to the timeline. So you're kind of going through school. You've always had this in you. When was your kind of first stint into starting your own like proper business?
I guess it was, I had one business. It didn't go very well, but I did actually like it. So essentially, I remember this is probably when I was like 14, 13-ish. I had so Airbnb was, big kind of, then it's still big now. But then in Nigeria, it actually wasn't at all. So what I wanted to do instead was have or take essentially called asymmetric information. So people in Nigeria don't really know anything about Airbnb. I did. I knew how to use it. A lot of people in Nigeria think London is like a safe haven and a gold place, whatever.
Yeah.
So they like to come here in the summertime. But because Nigerians have a lot of big families, like 9, 10 people, they don't like staying in hotels because they get dispersed within different rooms, and they don't really get to feel the culture of London if you're in a hotel, because every hotel is the same in every place around the world. So then I found, okay, cool, Airbnb, I can rent out, a house for like £100 a night. But then people who came from Nigeria wouldn't know that, and then I was just like, let me just charge them a higher price. Let's just take the difference essentially. So like I had 3 families. So one family came, they paid like £3,000 for the week, and I only spent probably like £700 or £800 to get the place and a little starter pack and everything for them. So it first started coming from there. So a lot of my businesses my business ventures started with me taking kind of no risk. I like those kind of businesses where it's just like an infrastructure. I don't own anything. I'm just kind of taking from someone, giving to someone else at a higher price. And I guess that was my first like proper venture. But then that's when I learned that some businesses are very seasonal. So in summertime, it will do really well. Wintertime, it's more people from the UK going to Nigeria. So they won't really traveling here as much. So I guess that's my first business lesson there.
Nice. Awesome. Well, let's go on to kind of the main thing at the moment for you, which is XPO, which is secure payments for influencer brand deals, right? Or
exactly.
Deals for anyone that wants to hire an influencer.
Exactly that, yeah.
How did you even come up with this idea?
So I used to be a sprinter myself, 200-meter sprinter, and at the time, this was probably like four years ago when I first thought of the idea. I had loads of brands messaging me saying, can you promote this? Can you promote that? Like back then, it wasn't really called influencer. You were just called an Instagram blogger.
Yeah.
At the time. So they kept messaging me. I was like, oh, this is kind of cool. Like I think first year uni. Like I got like a free tracksuit every month. So I thought I was the guy. I thought I was shit. And then afterwards, I kind of got tired of it because I couldn't organize my DMs. Because DMs are meant for so I could post something. Let's say a brand messages me. They want to work with me, then I post something funny, then all my friends DM me all laughing. That one message is now right at the bottom.
Yeah.
And I just couldn't be bothered to like organize. And some brands like they want you to work for free. You talk to them for like 7-8 days and then they ghost you, and it was just kind of long. So then what actually happened is that my co-founder was a year above me, and he came to my uni accommodation once, and he was just like, he runs like events for universities nationally. And he was just like, oh, don't ever talk to me about influencers ever again. And I was just like, oh, what's wrong? Like, what's happened? And he was just like, he was like, oh, get in contact with them. It's a nightmare. That's the first thing, because they have so many followers, they don't respond to your DMs anymore. And even if they do, it's like, okay, cool. When it comes to payment now, it's a bit of a weird one because you have to pay them first. And once you've paid them, you kind of see how they kind of slack off. They want to post when they want to post, type of thing. They want to and they may not post at all. And what can you do except for like kind of like show hate through the DMs, and then they'll just block you anyway. So like,
and then you lose your money. It's a lose-lose.
Exactly. Yeah. So it was kind of a weird one. So then I just kind of told him like, let's stop bitching about the idea and try and think of a way to solve it, essentially. And I remember that same day, I still have the notepad with me. So yeah, still have the notepad with me when I had the actual drawings of me, like drawing first how it would look with my crappy drawings. And I remember I sent out a tweet that day because we had no coding knowledge whatsoever. I was just like, looking for a developer, send me your CVs and then we'll see where we go from there. People were sending their CVs. I didn't even understand the CVs. They were like SQL, Java. I was thinking, I don't even know what this means. And then one day, some guy messaged us. He was from Hungary. He was just like, he likes what we're doing, but he thinks we can pivot in a certain way. I can't remember what it was. But I like that. I like people who are quite innovative. And I don't like yes men. I like people who can challenge what I'm saying. Yeah. Because it kind of shows that they understand what you're doing. But in short, worked with him for 10 months. We paid him like over 11K over the 10 months, and we got scammed essentially. So that was like a long game for him. Essentially. But the thing is that I'm not the type to get scammed like at all, because it's not like I gave him 10K up front. Like it was 1K every month. Yeah. And then like I was actually seeing updates. Like I had the app on my phone and everything, and I'll never forget 3 days before launch, he just disappears. Like I send him messages. I only see one tick. I can't see the WhatsApp DP anymore.
Yeah.
Like everything just disappeared. I was just like, crap. And you know, like when you've pent up the whole like 3 days remaining, 2 days remaining, like kind of gassing everyone up.
Yeah.
And then like now you're back to square zero because like you don't even know where the code is. You don't even know how to push the code. What is pushing the code? What does that mean? So that was very terrible for me because I actually used my savings because I was working at Barclays at the time.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually used my savings to pay for that. Me and my co-founder both. And so I went through like a mad depressive state. Like, and I used to be like that kind of guy that I used to think, depressive state is for stupid people, like who gets depressed type of thing. Yeah, but that was serious. Like I used to have panic attacks for like 2 weeks. I didn't shower at all for 2 weeks. I was literally binge watching like I think Big Bang Theory for 2 weeks and just didn't do anything at all. Then I think I watched a Gary Vee video, and then he's very like abrupt and straightforward. And then essentially, I can't remember but the message I got was like, you being upset every day is not going to change anything. Yeah. Type of thing.
I think his content's perfect for that kind of like kick when you need it.
It was so perfect. Like I remember it came from a recommended video or something. Yeah. And I was just like, crap, it's so true. Let me actually put more things in my hands and see what I can do. So I went on Udemy, downloaded a course to learn how to code Swift. And I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, let me just try. It's only £25. And then like did that for about 2-3 months. And then I became quite like, I wouldn't say I'm an expert coder, but like at least I know what's going on type of thing. And that was the first mistake I made. I was the kind of guy that, you're a developer, you go develop over there. When you're done, come back. And then like, but at least now I knew what could go on in the back end. And then the next thing that happened was, I would say, essentially luck. I think it was Social Media Week, and then I was traveling from London back to Leicester, because I was in Leicester at the time, Leicester University. And I asked one of my friends, I think I saw him on the coach station, I was like, hey, do you know any developers at all? And he was just like, yeah, I know some guy called Frank. I was like, okay, cool, have you got any more like information? He was like, oh, he's just a black guy, he's a developer, and Frank ends with a CK. I was like, wait, okay, cool. So I remember that same day, I was like, okay, cool, I need to find this Frank guy. I remember I typed into Google FARANCK. After I saw Frank, I was like, cool, looked at his bio, okay, developer, cool, maybe this could be him. Then I went into the DMs, and when we were working with the old developer, we actually released a private beta version. And then Frank in the DMs at the time was like, yeah, let's see what you guys are doing. Looks interesting, but the app is shit. And I was just like, oh crap. But then I loved it because he's very honest and straightforward. That's the kind of people that I like. And then within like 3 weeks, he was onboarded on the team, gave him equity in the business, and then we launched like 3 months later.
Mad. So you'd spent 10 months developing an app, got scammed. What was the time frame between the launch then after that?
Well, after the scam or like
yeah
okay so I worked with the first developer for 10 months, got scammed probably like April-ish, then found a new developer probably like May, June-ish, started working on it like in July, launched in September, like properly. So it was so crazy to us because this guy who we had as an outside developer, number one, was much older, had more experience. We paid like 10 times more money to him, and it took him 10 times longer to build the app. But the guy that we have is literally a third-year student at University of West London, has zero to nothing experience. His UI was much better, and he built it much quicker. So it was just crazy to us, to be honest.
I think there's a couple really important things that you like pointed out there. And so my work, I work with very technical people, but I'm not a developer myself. But I have done a bit of coding. I understand what the technologies do and how they piece into place. Though I'm, if you ask me to make an app in Swift, no clue. But I understand the higher level process. And I think to anyone, it sounds like from you, anyone that's trying to start a tech company, an app, you don't need to know how to do the intimate details, but having that higher level understanding is super important.
100%. And it makes things way more efficient as well, because what I found with Frank as well is that as he's doing stuff, I don't just let him do his stuff. I kind of like look over and to be like, oh yeah, teach me how you did that. And what that does is that compounds over time. So you start learning and you start becoming more efficient. So like before, at the very start, I would suggest like stupid stuff that can't actually be done in the back end. But now when I suggest stuff, I'm just like, yeah, we can do this by doing this. And if you link through Firebase, and then that'll be done. Then it makes it much quicker for him because he doesn't need to go through that process himself.
Nice. That's really cool. And let's move on then. So you've got the app up and running. I'm really interested to hear how's the the process been on the business side of things? That's everything from whether you're raising money or the initial traction that you've seen. What is the current situation at the moment? What are maybe some of the challenges or successes you've had as well?
Yeah, so we had quite a few challenges. So just before we launched, we actually raised from the AVP of Barclays Ventures and another tech founder as well. We wanted to raise 50K at first. Everybody was telling us we're crazy because it was too little. But we're very like capital efficient and like I'll make every pound stretch. And during our raise, like we had so many people that wanted to join in and around. But during our raise, after we raised 13 from these two investors, we were like, yeah, we actually have the tech within the team. We can actually launch this. What's the point of giving away more equity? But everyone was just like, no, you're gonna be burning 15K like a month. I was just thinking that's crazy. Like who needs to do that type of thing? Because we did it very, very lean. So we raised 13K, closed it there. So that kind of helped us for like a good 6-7 months. In terms of when we launched, it was really good. Had a lot of influencers jumping on board. We made one mistake. We found that marketing-wise, we thought, we're dealing with Instagram influencers here, so Instagram ads, that's the best thing to do, of course, because they're on Instagram, right? Then we actually found out that Instagram influencers spend the least time on Instagram. Because what they do is that they come on at 7 p.m, post their picture, stay for like 5 minutes to see if people are liking it or commenting, maybe do a few comments back, and then they kind of fuck off to another, like Twitter or something like that. So then we found that they'll be the least likely to even see the ads at all. So we had to switch. We spent about 2K on like ads on that, so we had to switch that off completely. So that's the first thing we found. Then in terms of like things you don't realize until you go through the process of trying to make a transaction, essentially. So there were very, very small things, but they compound together and they could stop someone from making a transaction. So how our app works is that, you see it, you can filter whatever you want to see an influencer, click on them, see their pricing. You should click on it and send a request to them. If they accept, you get charged, money gets held in Expo. Once they've done what they want to do, then things get released. But we have a chat function. When the influencer is accepted, now you can talk to them about specifics. Let's say like their address or like their sizing for a dress or whatnot. Then we found that you couldn't, in a chat function, we didn't actually have the function of sending an image or video within the chat. So what tended to happen is that the person would be like, yeah, okay, DM me on Instagram and then send me this on Instagram. So that kind of pulled things away from Expo, which means we had less data and there was more likelihood of them trying to complete the transaction off Expo. So then quickly we had to literally code to put the chat function and all that stuff. Then we found that we didn't have the ability to copy a message, like when you put a long hold. So they had to like put that feature in there as well. So these little things that you would never think about that are needed definitely to keep people within the app. But yeah, since then we've been doing quite a few transactions. We found that our niche is definitely in fashion and hair companies. They love using us, and we always see this trend where a brand comes on board, they book one influencer, then they realize, oh crap, this works, then they come and book 3 or 4, then they email me saying, yeah, we want to book 60 now. And they're like, yeah, we don't want to use your app to do it anymore. Like, you do it for us, or do you have a website where we can automate the process or something like that? And then that's when we started to build this automation process. So what we did is that we found that brands don't actually care about the influencer promoting their product or service. As long as the influencer's audience is their customer, they don't care who it is.
They just care about the engagement.
Exactly, that was literally it. So we would then start thinking, okay, cool, but has anyone actually ever automated influencer marketing, like fully automate? Looked around, we saw so many articles saying, it's impossible, it can't be done, and all that stuff. So then we thought, what I always find is that when you search something on Google and you don't see any companies doing it, and you just see loads of articles of people saying it can't be done, it kind of like motivates me to be like, yeah, I'm going to do that. So then we started creating essentially, think Facebook ads, but for influencers. So essentially, because what we realized, okay, cool, all brands know that you get like 5x ROI compared to normal Facebook and Instagram ads, right? With influencer marketing. But a lot of them still don't go for influencer marketing, or they don't pour that much budget into it. And the reason is Mostly it's because it's not automated. Like I still have to email this influencer. I have to wait for a response, and I have to hire someone to do that, and that's just expensive and it's all long. They like Facebook ads because it's just kind of like, yeah, my budget's £300 a month, and then I can just analyze everything and kind of like chill. So we wanted to build that experience for influencer marketing. So what our algorithm does or will do is you tell us, cool, my budget is £250 a week, let's say. I want the placements to be on Instagram stories and Instagram posts. And then we on the back end send that request to all the influencers and network that match your target audience, or the audience matches your target audience. And then they kind of like book in to be like, okay, cool, I'll do it. And then what we can tell to the brand now is like, okay, cool, you're going to have 2 posts every week for eternity of different influencers posting about your product. Yeah. And you never have to talk to them ever again. And then so that's what we learned. But it's only over time that you actually learn that from customer feedback.
And I think that's a super valuable lesson in terms of customer feedback and knowing what your customers want. Like the fact that they came to you and said, actually, we want this way more automated at scale.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's helped like your product vision. And I suppose on those learnings, what are the few things that you've taken away from, let's say you were going to start XPO all over again, and you're talking to a younger version of you. What are the few key learnings that you'd give now to be able to cut that lead time?
Definitely do a lot more product testing before you launch, in terms of not you yourself, because what I've realized is that I know my products like the back of my hand, but other people won't, type of thing. So things that seem very obvious to you may not be obvious to other people. So let me give you an example. So when we first launched, like the first 4 or 5 days, like no one even opened the payments page, and we're just like, what is going on? Like people just kept going to the profiles and then kind of going away. And we had 3 buttons at the top that had pricing of people, but people didn't know they were buttons that you can actually click. And when you click that opens up the payments page. So little things like that, doing a lot of UI testing, because it didn't look 3D like a button. So people didn't click on it. So little small things like that, definitely that would have saved us a whole lot of time, realizing later on down the line. And the things with apps as well, people don't realize is that once someone interacts with your app for the first time and they don't understand it, they're going to leave it and delete it. And the likelihood of them re-downloading it again is very, very low, unless they get like multiple recommendations.
Yeah, of course. So I completely agree with that. Like in my job where I'm at Theodo, I work on a lot of different projects, apps, mobile websites, and it's so key to always bring it back to that customer centricity, that focus. And regularly doing that user testing, because there's so many things that you just go, well, we're just building it. We're building it like it's obvious. Exactly. You show it in front of a customer and it's like, I don't know what this means. Why this isn't useful at all. Exactly. And once you get in that mindset, you're like a light bulb. It's like, oh, right. I'm not building it for me.
That's literally like at a point I was so frustrated. I was just like, are people stupid? Like this is so obviously it for that type of thing.
Yeah.
But then you start realizing, I'm the one that's actually stupid. I should have, made it better for them. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, the last thing on Expo then, what's the kind of future looking like, the roadmap, and where do you want to see, like, kind of take it?
Yeah. So I think what we actually want to move into is there's another company called Yoke. So we may actually start becoming direct competitors with them in terms of going into. So what we found is that, okay, cool. If you want to move into the whole automation thing, there's a lot of things that logistics wise there's really difficult to automate. So for example, if I have a clothing company, right, and I'm going to have 2 different influencers that I won't really know about until they post. Okay, but I need to know their dress size. I need to know their dress. I need to know so many different things. And if I don't post on time, then they can't post all their stuff. And it's all hectic. So we just start thinking, okay, what about apps? Like there's a lot of apps, there's a lot of people out there developers even who create loads of apps, but they're not really good at the marketing side type of thing. All they do is like Instagram ads and Facebook ads, but they don't know anything about influencer ads at all. And I feel like that's a huge market we can go to and dominate, because with that, there doesn't need to be any kind of postage or anything like that. It kind of limits the amount of communication that's needed, because the influencer is just going to try the app out and they're going to figure out how it works. So I think that's definitely there. Also, an education piece as well, because I feel like there's 2 kind of influencers. There's Instagram influencers and then there's YouTube influencers, right? But YouTube influencers say they're content creators, and Instagram influencers call them Instagram influencers. And what I found is that there's a lot of bad connotation when it comes to Instagram influencers compared to YouTube content creators. And I found the reason is because with Instagram influencers, it's always like, oh, like this is the best product I've ever tried, and then the next week they use another competitor and be like, oh, this is the best product I've ever tried, and then like obviously trust goes downwards, right? But what I realized is because they don't actually have enough time within a picture to actually give a review instead. So, and they're already really pressurized by the brands to be like, or even their agencies to be like, yeah, it has to be a positive review type of thing, unless you're not going to get money. That's how they work. But we actually want to change that, make it more a review thing instead of like, oh, this is the best thing, 5-star, 5-star. Because what we've actually found is that when something is rated 4 out of 5 stars rather than 5 out of 5 stars, you actually get more purchases because people believe that it's more authentic.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah.
So like YouTube influencers, they have long form video, right? So they have a full 10 minutes to tell you, yo, I like this about it, I don't like this about it.
Yeah.
And then people are more like, okay, cool, I'm actually going to buy it.
Awesome. So kind of move into that review space for the Instagram marketing.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Nice. Well, just before we finish up, we couldn't not talk. You almost went semi-viral on LinkedIn recently with your altar posts. How many is it on 1,000 likes now?
Yeah, I got it to yesterday. So
nice.
I was quite happy about that.
Why don't you just give us a quick snapshot of what Altar is firstly, and then how it came to be?
So Altar is essentially just a donations app to donate to your local church remotely. That's essentially what it is at its core. We have other features that we put on top of that. So essentially how it came about, it was like probably now 6 weeks ago. My mum gave me a call on the phone on a Saturday evening. I was out with my friends, and then she was like, "Oh, Lotanna, make sure you bring cash for church tomorrow." And I was just like, number one, why are you calling me? Like, I'm meant to be having fun right now. And number two, like, isn't there a digital way to give? Like, it's so annoying having to bring cash. I don't really carry cash. And if I do carry cash, it's like £20 note, and I'm not giving a £20 note because I need it for something. So it just kind of gets really annoying like that. Then I just, I always tell people Google is your oyster to the world. Then I just research, digital donations for church. Found one in the USA called PushPay. They were doing 4.4 billion. I was thinking, whoa, when I saw that number, I was like, is that a mistake? Because or did they do something else I'm not aware of? Yeah. After I did more research, and that's literally all they do, church donations. But they do it for mega churches. So those churches like 5K people minimum type of thing.
Yeah.
Then I found another one called Tively. They are based in New Zealand and did 100 million in revenue. And I was thinking, New Zealand's a tiny, that's crazy. Like, what is actually going on here? Type of thing. And I tried to find someone that's doing it in the UK. No one was trying to do it at all. PushPay didn't come to, they tried to come to the UK, but UK doesn't have any mega churches. Tively tried to come, but the way things work in the UK is completely different from New Zealand in terms of the laws and all that stuff. So I was just like, you know what? Let me just try and... Actually, at first I tweeted, I just ranted on Twitter. And then the CEO of Bieber now replied to me, we're just like, okay, do it then. And I was just like, oh crap, I'm doing all this complaining, it's true.
Have you replied back to him?
Yeah. So literally what happened, he said, do it. I was like, then he DM'd me saying, if you're able to get off the ground, I'm going to back it and all that stuff. So I was like, oh crap. Then I made like a public statement on Twitter. I was just like, okay, cool, give me 3 months. And then 4 or 5 weeks later, we built it. We launched from Product Hunt, which is really cool. And
I saw that launch. That was cool.
Yeah. He was the one who actually posted the product on there, so that really helped us a lot. Got loads of user feedback, and we're just trying to release the Android version next week, actually. But yeah, it's been crazy, man.
That's awesome, man. It's such a cool cause as well. Like, I don't know, like, so your mum goes to church as well, and I think the way you framed it in the LinkedIn post was perfect. Like, touches people's hearts, but it's a really cool idea. Like, and I will say with both your apps, like, considering when I downloaded XPO last year, I have to admit, like, the UI on both of these apps is like awesome.
Thanks, man.
Like, I think it looks really cool. So.
Thank you, man. Like, we've definitely come a long way, and we're able to learn from XPO. So building Altar was much easier. That's why it could be done so quickly.
Well, you're talking around about 2 years down to 4 or 5 weeks, right?
Exactly. So it was way quicker, and like I've told you before, my knowledge had compounded over time. So when because it wasn't only me working on it, it was me and my CTO. So it was just like, so when I'm telling him stuff, like, I already know how the back end works completely perfectly. So like when I'm saying things, like, things are just happening really quickly. Essentially, nice. Like, we could have definitely released it like probably in 3 weeks, but we just wanted to take our time with it and not forget anything and all that stuff.
Of course.
And the key thing we actually bring for churches, so a lot of people just think, oh yeah, just the donations app, like anyone else can come and just take over the space and all that stuff. But the key thing we do for churches is give them 25% more. So there's actually something called Gift Aid, which is a government scheme where if you're a UK taxpayer and you give a charitable donation, let's say for every £1 you give, they'll give you 25p, or they give the cause 25p extra. What we found is that I actually went to my local church just to ask my pastor to be like, okay, how does it work? What's the ratios at the moment? He was just like, oh yeah, for you to give in Gift Aid, I have to give you this form. You need to go home, fill it out, come back, give it to me. I need to scan it, then send it off to HMRC. And I just like, Jesus Christ, that's such a long process. Then I asked him, okay, cool, what's the ratio of gift aid giving to normal giving, right? Because I was thinking it's a no-brainer. Everyone should give Gift Aid because 25% more. He was just like, essentially, was just really, really low for Gift Aid because people just can't be bothered, number one. And number two, they don't really understand Gift Aid really. So once they see you have to be a UK taxpayer, people kind of get scared. They're like, oh, I don't want to get taxed.
Oh, I don't want to,
yeah, exactly, and all that stuff. So what we do is that we automate the process for the church and the people. So when you give, it literally asks you when you want a gift aid, yes or no. If you click yes, what we do on the back end is that we generate that form that you would have had to fill before because we already have your details, and we give it to the church automatically, so they don't have to do any scanning or anything like that. So that saves churches a whole load of time and gives them more money, essentially. So, yeah.
That's awesome. Look, we're going to have to finish up here. I have a few just quick fire questions off the top of my mind. So yeah, just very, very quick answers. Who is the biggest person that's influenced you?
Definitely my mum in the family. Definitely, she's really motivated me a lot. If not her, then Elon Musk.
Nice.
Yeah.
Would you rather read a book or listen to a podcast?
Listen to a podcast 100%. I haven't read a book in years.
What was the next one? I've lost them off the top of my mind. I guess we'll go with the last one. I usually ask what one book would you recommend, but I'll go opposite. What one podcast would you recommend?
My First Million podcast with Sean Puri and Sam Purr as well. It's my favourite podcast, definitely.
Awesome. I haven't listened to that one. I'll have to give it a shout.
It's absolutely amazing. I think what is good about it is that most podcasts like just bring guests all the time. But what they do is that they actually kind of like look at ideas and talk about how they would do it if they would be the CEO of the company and kind of like chuck it up. So I really like that.
Awesome. Well, look, Lots, thank you so much for joining me on today's episode. I'll leave a link for XPO and Alter. Please go check it out. Thanks for coming on.
Thank you very much.